This is CBJ in 30, presented by Telhio Credit Union. Find out more and open an account online at telhio.org. Now, here's your host, Bob McElligott.
Here we are in the city that never sleeps, and once again, the Blue Jackets are getting set to play their biggest game of the year. There's something a little bit different about this one, however. If they can get the desired result, which is a win, of course, if they can do that, they will punch their ticket to the Stanley Cup playoffs. Welcome to CBJ in 30, presented by Telhio Credit Union. I'm Bob McElligott. Tonight, it's the Blue Jackets and the New York Rangers closing out their season series, and for the Blue Jackets, maybe getting into the playoffs for a third straight year. We'll have to wait and see. It will take a victory to do it, and that was set up last night because the Blue Jackets finally got a little help from their friends. Actually, not friends, but enemies. Yeah, enemies is the right word. The Washington Capitals defeated the Montreal Canadiens last night. Very tough game, very low-scoring game, 2-1 game. Capitals get it done on home ice, and that effectively sets this up for the Blue Jackets. The Blue Jackets now need a mere 2 points to earn a playoff berth. So even if they were to lose this game tonight, if they would win a game tomorrow, it would still count, and you would still get in. But here we are in game number 81, and still you don't know if you're in, and you don't know if you get in who you're going to play in the first round. It's becoming more and more clear every day, though. It's becoming more and more clear. And now there are only two places that you can go, because Carolina was a winner last night over the New Jersey Devils. I told you if the Devils beat the Hurricanes, I'd pass out. I told you that the other day. And the Devils actually were up by the score of 1-0 in that game, and I thought I would have to pass out. But then reality set in, and the Hurricanes started burying goals, and they win the game last night. So Carolina is officially in. It's just Montreal and the Blue Jackets that remain for the final playoff spot. Now, Carolina, with that win, goes 3 points ahead of the Blue Jackets. But the Blue Jackets, again, can get it back to within 1 point. And this is why there's still uncertainty as to who you're going to play. Because should Carolina lose tomorrow when they go to Philly to take on the Flyers, and should the Blue Jackets win in Ottawa, the Blue Jackets would leapfrog the Hurricanes and take the first wild card spot, which would start them within the Metropolitan Division instead of crossing over into the Atlantic Division and having to take on the Tampa Bay Lightning. You would get the Capitals instead of getting the Lightning. And I'm going to be honest with you right now. I think if Carolina gets either of those teams, they're done. And I think Carolina is probably just happy to be in. It's been 10 years since they've been in the playoffs. Great accomplishment for them. Don't get me wrong. An absolute great accomplishment to get back into the playoffs, take a region that has seen a Stanley Cup win, but it's been a long time now. That region was, I thought it was kind of disinterested in hockey. They brought back the interest in hockey in North Carolina. They really did. Just through the antics and the storm surges and the way the crowd was made to feel a part of it, winning games, getting into the playoffs. You know, I think they have achieved more than maybe they thought they would have. And maybe because they are playing with no expectations, there'll be a surprise in the playoffs. I'm not expecting that. Of course, I wasn't expecting them to be in the playoffs in the first place, so what the heck do I know? But for the Blue Jackets, I think it's very important if they can – see, now it's not up to them. And if I'm Carolina, I'm trying like hell to win that game tomorrow because I don't want to face the Tampa Bay Lightning. Nobody wants to face them. And we've had the conversation before, and we'll have it again next week, all things willing, about, you know, the teams that have gone into the playoffs with no expectations and have knocked off higher seeds and maybe even President's Trophy winners and then have gone on all the way to the Stanley Cup final. We could talk about that all you want to. Because if I'm here on Monday doing this show talking about the playoffs and the Blue Jackets being in the playoffs, we can talk about all of it. That's fine. So the Blue Jackets can only play either Washington or Tampa, and they need Carolina to lose while they win. And the Blue Jackets have to win both. So that's another fair thing I should point out. Were they to lose tonight, Carolina's locked in against Washington. Blue Jackets would have to win their two remaining games and have Carolina lose their game in Philadelphia tomorrow. That's the only way the Blue Jackets could face the Washington Capitals in the first round of the playoffs. So it's narrowing down every day. It's getting closer every day. And the days are almost up, quite frankly. The days are almost up. But for the Blue Jackets, it's about today and about getting a win today and about finding a way to finish this thing. Just finish. That's what it's all about. By the way, a little bit later, I'm not going to do it right now, but by the end of this show today, pay close attention because I've got programming notes for next week. If the Blue Jackets are in the playoffs, this entire show is changing, not for the worse, but for the better. It's going to be available earlier. It's going to be available live. All of that stuff I'm going to tell you about later in the show, but just make a note of it. It's coming up later. Right now I want to talk about, well, you know what I'm going to talk about right now? You know. Because before I get into this head-to-head matchup and all this stuff, I want to tell you about Ohio Credit Union and the fact that they have been putting people over profits and taking care of their members since way back in 1934. They have all kinds of different accounts for you. They have 3 different types of checking accounts. When you think about opening a checking account, how often do you think, well, I wonder how many benefits I can get with my checking account? Maybe I should look into that. I don't think that way, or I haven't thought that way before. I think that way now because of Ohio Credit Union. So that's just one example of what they have that they can help to make your life better with. Just go on the website, telhio.org, surf around. Just check out the various information that they have there, their rates, their accounts, their personal loans, all of that stuff. Check it out. If you can't find what you're looking for, there is a live chat option. Just click on the live chat and somebody will get with you and help to talk you through it. Or you can stop by one of their local offices and you can talk with somebody and talk your way through it. Either way you want to do it, that's fine. Just make sure that you do. Ohio Credit Union is open to everyone in Central and Southwestern Ohio. They are federally insured by NCUA. Now let's get to this matchup tonight between the Blue Jackets and the New York Rangers. The Rangers have long since been out of the playoff hunt. Their record is 31, 36, and 13. They've got 75 points, 19 fewer than the Blue Jackets. They have, for the most part, stayed above 500 at home. And I say for the most part because they are 18, 14, and 8. So they've lost 8 times in overtime. They've earned points, but really they're like 18 and 22 at home. Okay? The Blue Jackets have been good on the road, 23, 14, and 2 when they get outside of Nationwide Arena. So here's the thing, and this is why it's going to be tough tonight for the New York Rangers. You've got the Rangers, or I said tough for the New York Rangers. I meant to say tough against the New York Rangers. You've got the Rangers who are playing their final home game of the season tonight. This is it. This is the last go-around at Madison Square Garden for the year. You've got Henrik Lundqvist, who is trying to earn his 450th win of his career. He's missed out on the last 6 chances, okay? So there are things to play for, things like pride when it comes to the New York Rangers. And a proud team and a team with no expectations and a team trying to send the home fans off into the summer feeling at least somewhat good about themselves or about their team. They're going to play hard tonight. I don't think there's any question whatsoever that they are going to play extremely hard tonight, and the Blue Jackets have to be ready to meet that and to match that and to exceed that. It's very simple. They've got to exceed whatever the Rangers do tonight. Now, this should be a much easier game when it comes to the checking factor, easier than the game on Tuesday against Boston. Boston is relentless. They're big. They play you hard. The New York Rangers a little different. I mean, this is a team that's in the midst of a rebuild now, okay? And they admitted that last year. They came right out and said it. They told their fans, and they are retooling. And they'll do it quickly. They will do it quickly because they've got money to work with in the summer. They will bring people in here, and they've got some good young players that they have played throughout the course of the season. So, you know, they have a chance to – they're not going to be down long. I just don't think that they are. That's just not the nature of the beast here in New York. Glenn Sather has announced that he is going to retire after 19 years as a team president. And he's going to leave. They're going to bring somebody else into that spot, whoever it is. It's going to be a high-profile job. They're going to be given some good stuff to work with, quite frankly. And then they're going to add to it. So enjoy where you are right now if you're the Blue Jackets, with a chance to beat the Rangers and be in the playoffs while they go home. But some of the players that stand out on this team, as always, Chris Kreider does. He's got 27 goals and 51 points this year. Mika Zibanejad has 30 goals. He's got 72 points. So he leads everybody in that category. And then it's just kind of spread out, if you will. Ryan Strome has 33 points. You've got, when it comes to the forwards, Pavel Buchnevich has 37 points. Vladislav Nemestikov has 29 points. So it's kind of scattered throughout. But let's talk about the defensemen. You've got Kevin Shattenkirk, who I just wonder if he was worth getting for the Rangers. I guess he's going to be the kind of guy that can anchor a blue line as they add to it. But Shattenkirk's got 27 points. It's not bad. He's got 25 assists on the year. He's also a minus 17, and I never dwell on those numbers, but a defenseman minus 17 kind of stands out by the time you get to this time of the year. But you got Shattenkirk back there. Then you've got the young guys like Brady Shea. He's got 24 points. You got Tony DeAngelo, who's got 30 points on the year. And here's the difference. Shea's a minus 5. DeAngelo's a plus 5 in the 60 games that he has played. So, their numbers look good. Mark Stahl is a stalwart back there. Pardon the pun. He's only got 13 points, though, through 77 games. So, up and down the lineup for the Rangers, it's okay. A couple of guys stand out, but then it's okay. But I'll tell you something. David Quinn, who's the head coach here now, from the moment he arrived, comes out of college hockey, gets here, and he's making people accountable. Whether you're a rookie, whether you're a veteran, he doesn't care. If it's time to bench you, he will bench you. It's kind of a throwback to the John Tortorella era with the New York Rangers. So David Quinn has done a very good job of making his team accountable, and that's going to go a long way for him. I really believe it is. That's going to go a long way as they add to this group that they have, both with more young prospects and then with any veterans that they sign as free agents. I mentioned Chris Kreider a few minutes ago, and something is happening tonight that is similar, not identical, but similar to the Chris Kreider situation when he debuted in the National Hockey League. He debuted under John Tortorella, and his first game after coming out of college was in a playoff series, the third game of a playoff series against the Ottawa Senators. That's when he broke into the league. Not often do guys break into the league late in the season for a playoff team or a team that is trying to get into the playoffs and must win. But that is going to happen tonight. John Tortorella is at it again, as Alexander Texier is going to make his NHL debut. Now, you might recall, I think it was 2 Mondays ago, during the Monday Mailbag show, somebody asked me about Texier and scoring in his first, I don't know, whatever it was, 3 games. Scored a goal in each of his first 3 games, I think, in Cleveland. And they asked what I thought about it. And I was very honest and upfront, as I always try to be with you. And I might not have been very nice about it, but my answer was, that's great, but I could care less. I don't care until he's here. Well, in that span of 2 weeks, I now care very much about Alexander Texier. Very much. Because he's grabbed everyone's attention in Cleveland. Played 7 games, had 7 points. 5 goals, 2 assists. Is he going to make the adjustment to the National Hockey League as quickly? I hope so. I really do. But here's a kid that what's he have to lose? Nothing. He's 19 years old. He, he's scoring. He played in a man's league in Europe, and now he comes over here and makes a quick adjustment in the American Hockey League. Speaks English, but he doesn't speak it that well, he says. That's what he said in the interview. I watched him doing an interview from Cleveland. Because my English is not that good. I'm thinking, Well, you just talked for 5 minutes. It's not that bad either. But he's a young kid. He's going to come in here and try hard, and that's all you can ask. And maybe he adds something. Maybe he does something for this team. That's the one thing about players like that at this time of the year. It's kind of odd. It's very odd to sit there and go, well, why are you going to bring this guy in and bump somebody out that has been here? Look, if he can score, then why wouldn't you do that, right? Why wouldn't you? What's it going to hurt? Is his insertion to the lineup tonight going to be detrimental for this Blue Jackets team? I don't think so at all. I think all it can do is help them. You know, they've got somebody to rally around as if they need anything. I mean, they've got to win this game. But it'll be something different. And as I said, if he's fast and if he scores or at least gets around the net and creates a little bit of havoc, well, so be it. And this is really reminiscent of a couple of years ago when Gabriel Carlsen came in almost an identical situation, although I think he was in Cleveland for maybe 3 days. I forget how many games he played in Cleveland before they called him up. But here was a kid that, in Gabriel Carlsen, that 1 week was finishing playing in Europe, finishing off his season in Europe, and then like a week and a half later was playing against the Pittsburgh Penguins in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you about that one. That one didn't work out so well, I don't think. But that's a defenseman. That was really putting him in a tough position. Really putting him in a tough position. Because defense is so much harder to learn and play in the NHL. A forward, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit easier to make the adjustments. And Alexander Texier will get the opportunity to make that adjustment tonight. Who comes out for him to go in? I know Aaron Portzline in The Athletic has speculated maybe Alexander Wenberg's coming out of the lineup. And I don't know. I'll wait till the official word from John Tortorella to, when we go to the rink later on today. There was no morning skate today, so when we go over there later on today, things will be much more official than they are right now. To me, and again, this is me. I'm not a coach. I just play one on the radio. But, Wenberg, I think Wenberg's been contributing in different ways. As I'm just sitting here spitballing it, I don't know that Ryan Dzingel has done as much as Alexander Wenberg lately. I really don't. And if you think I'm crazy, which you might, think about it. I mean, Wenberg's penalty killing. He's, it seems like there's a good mesh with him and Bjorkstrand and Jenner. And Bjorkstrand's really producing on that line. He scored 7 goals in the last 6 games, scoring in 6 straight. So I would be, if it were me, I would have to think long and hard about breaking up that chemistry of that line that's working right now. But it's not me, and I'm not saying it's the wrong thing to do if that's what happens either, because it's very easy to sit and change nothing or to look at the negative of it and how it might affect you negatively. It's a much different thing to be brave enough to make a change and give yourself a chance for it to be a good change. Do you understand what I mean? You can be overly cautious. I think that's what I'm trying to say as I'm searching for words in my empty head. You can be overly cautious. And you can go the other way too. But I have no problem with this kid going into the lineup tonight. He's earned it. He's come over and he's scored points. And for a team that can at times be offensively challenged, why wouldn't you bring in a guy that has some offense? So it'll be fun to see him tonight. And kind of funny, too, because he's going to make his National Hockey League debut in the world's most famous arena. How about that? The world's most famous arena. And he's going to wear number 42, last worn by Artem Anisimov, who the Blue Jackets got in a trade from the New York Rangers. Oh, it's just dripping with irony all around here. Everywhere I look, everything is dripping with irony. So last night, I told you about the Capitals winning. I told you about the Hurricanes winning. What I didn't tell you is the Penguins won last night, and so the Blue Jackets cannot catch them. They cannot get as high as third. It will be a wild card spot, and that's it, one way or the other. But the Penguins won last night 4-1, so they bounced back after losing in Detroit 2 nights previous by the same score. The New York Islanders went to a shootout to beat the Florida Panthers. 2-1 was the final in that game. Tampa Bay Lightning beat the Toronto Maple Leafs 3-1. Buffalo Sabres won a game. They beat Ottawa 5-2. Ottawa comes in, beats the Rangers 4-1, then loses to Buffalo 5-2. And that is the sign of a young and erratic team. What else happened last night? Flyers got pounded in St. Louis. 7-3 was the final there. Vancouver lost at home. They lost on the road to Nashville. 3-2 was the final. Boston goes into Minnesota and grinds out a 3-0 win over the Wild. And the Avalanche in overtime beat the Jets 3-2. Sharks were winners over the Oilers by that same 3-2 score. And Arizona went into Vegas and beat up on the Coyotes 4-1 was the final. So in the Metropolitan Division, that win last night for Washington was big because they have 104 points, and that puts them exactly where they need to be atop the Metropolitan Division because the Islanders have only one game left. They cannot catch them. So Washington claims the number 1 spot. Pittsburgh could tie the Islanders if the Islanders were to lose their last game and the Penguins were to win. So there's the battle for home ice there. Carolina, I already told you, is in that first wild card spot, 3 points ahead of the Blue Jackets. And the Blue Jackets, should Carolina stumble in their final game, the Blue Jackets win their last 2, they could leapfrog them. In the Western Conference, so things are starting to, well, they're really not starting to sort out in the Central Division because Nashville's on top now. They've got 98 points. Winnipeg and St. Louis are both tied with 97 points. Winnipeg holds a tiebreaker, so they're in second place. So they each have, all three of those teams have one game left. If Nashville wins that game, they're going to stay on top, and that's going to put them in a much better position because they would take on Dallas in the first round rather than play St. Louis. Because St. Louis is I know Dallas has been good as of late, but St. Louis has just tore it up for much of the second half of the year. So in the Pacific, Calgary, they're the number 1 seed in the West throughout. You've got San Jose with 99 points and Vegas with 93 points. You've got Dallas with, Dallas still has 2 games left, actually, and they have 91 points. Vegas has 1 game left, so Vegas could get to 95. Dallas, though, could get to 95 as well. They've got 4 points available. So that would be very interesting, and I think Dallas would hold the tiebreaker there. So Vegas could drop into a wild card spot. Colorado's got the second wild card. They've got 90 points. And they would like to have Dallas' spot, too. So I said about Nashville playing Dallas. So they could play Colorado, too, depending on how it all shakes out. And you've got, that's it. Those teams are all in. They are all locked in. Those are the 8 teams. Nashville, Winnipeg, St. Louis, Calgary, San Jose, Vegas, Dallas, and Colorado all locked in the Western Conference. The other games that are going to be played tonight, in addition to the one that we'll have here at Madison Square Garden, the Blackhawks are at home to take on the Dallas Stars, and the Los Angeles Kings go cross town, basically, to take on the Anaheim Ducks. So tonight, the Blue Jackets, they control their own destiny. They decide if they are going to be in the playoffs or if they are going to wait until tomorrow and see what else happens for them to get into the playoffs. The recommendation is to get the job done tonight. That is what they will look to do here at MSG when they take on the Rangers. The game gets underway at 7 o'clock tonight. Pre-game coverage, as always, begins at 6:45 on the Blue Jackets radio network, and that includes the flagship station 97.1 The Fan in Columbus. Also get the game on the Blue Jackets app, on the TuneIn app, at bluejackets.com on your computer or laptop. Now, starting next week, this is the plan. Take note. Take note. The plan will be 8 o'clock in the morning. From 8 o'clock until 9 o'clock in the morning, CBJ and 30 live. I'll bring it to you live. I'll be half dead most days, but I'll bring it to you live. And it will be streamed, and this is where it gets interesting here, okay? It'll be streamed on the Blue Jackets app. I'm going to give you specific instructions right now on how you'll find it. You go to the Blue Jackets app. You open it up on your phone. Scroll down underneath the stories and the videos. There will be a list of options, and one is Listen Live. Okay? So you will go to that. I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to bring it up on my phone. I'm going to scroll through. It'll start with the schedule at the top, and then the next game, and then any news, and then video, and then the stats leaders, and then you keep going down underneath the Ohio Health Hockey Quiz. You get down to My Blue Jackets account, and you keep going. My God, you have to go 100 miles deep here. But once you go down, you'll find it'll say audio. And it says Listen Live is the first option right underneath that. Listen Live. If you do all of those things, I should pay you for doing all those things, for gosh sakes. It's not easy. I'm not asking you to do something easy. I'm asking you to do something difficult. It is the playoffs after all. But anyway, you get down to audio, click on Listen Live, 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock in the morning. Now, that's going to be available for you to have reaction to the game the night before, to talk about what's coming up, whatever you want to do. I'll take your questions. Monday, it'll be a regular Monday mailbag. I'll prompt you for the questions on Sunday, load up the mailbag, and I'll spend the show on Monday doing all of the answers, as I always do. But then Twitter is going to be there throughout the playoffs for you to send questions anytime. I'm going to be doing the show every day. It'll be an hour long. It'll be, I'll be honest with you, it's going to be run as a radio show, so there'll be commercials in it. But it's going to be live for an hour from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. So when you're on your way to work, you can turn it on. You can engage and interact, or just listen, whatever you want. And then the show will be posted on all the normal channels throughout the day. It'll be on SoundCloud. It'll go to your iTunes, your Google Play, your Spotify, all of that stuff. It'll live there all day long. And then they'll replay it in the evenings on the flagship station, 97.1 The Fan. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. The show is going to go live from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock in the morning drive time, giving you a chance to interact, engage about the game coming up tonight, or the game that was played last night, or whatever's on your mind. Okay? Blue Jackets app, scroll down to audio, and listen live. On BlueJackets.com, there will be a listen live, I almost said button. That's so wrong. It's not a button. There's an option. It'll be there. Look, they're going to promote it on the website. I need you. I need you to make this a success. I want this to be a success for you. This is, we're going to try it. We're going to see how it works, and I'm excited about it. At the time of day, maybe I'm not so excited about, but hey, when I got into this, I wanted to be a morning guy. That's what I thought I wanted to be. Then I found out you have to get up at 3:30 in the morning so you can start work at 5:30 or 6. Then it wasn't so appealing. So 8 o'clock I can do. 8 o'clock I can do. 8 to 9 live starting Monday, getting ready for the playoffs, getting you ready for the Stanley Cup playoffs for a third straight year. Tonight, Blue Jackets and the Rangers, Madison Square Garden, win and they're in. Simple as that. Until then, I'm Bob McElligott saying so long.